Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavansham Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakharnitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama
Hare Krishna Giriraj Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
ఎలా ఉన్నారు ప్రభు?
Yes Prabhu, all okay. Iru?
యా, నేను కూడా ఫైన్ ప్రభు. ఏం లేదు ప్రభు, ఒక చిన్న క్లారిఫికేషన్ మొన్న అడుగుదాం అనుకున్నా, మర్చిపోయాను. మీ మార్నింగ్ క్లాస్ లో లాస్ట్ శ్లోక రిసైటేషన్ నెక్స్ట్ ఏదైనా కొత్త స్టార్ట్ అయినప్పుడు నేను జాయిన్ అవుతాను ప్రభు.
అయితే నెక్స్ట్ ఈ లలిత్ మోహన్ ప్రభు గజేంద్ర మోక్షం అన్నాడంట.
అవును ప్రభు.
సారీ గజేంద్ర మోక్షం అని చెప్పాడంట. అది యాక్చువల్ గా మీరు జాయిన్ అవ్వంటారు. ఈ బ్రహ్మ సంహిత అందరూ నేర్చుకున్నారు, 10 శ్లోకాలు చదువుతారంట.
అవి వినే ఇన్స్పైర్ అవుతున్నాను. బాగుంది క్లాస్, బట్ నాకు ఏమవుతుందంటే ముందు అవ్వట్లేదు ప్రభు. నేను కరెక్ట్ ఆ శ్లోక టైంకి వస్తున్నాను. సో ఆ శ్లోక అప్పటి నుంచి అటెండ్ అవ్వమంటే ఈజ్ ఇట్ ఓకే అయితే నేను జాయిన్ అవుతాను.
యా మీరు జాయిన్ అవ్వండి ప్రభు ప్లీజ్. ఎస్ ప్రభు.
థ్యాంక్ యూ ప్రభు. హరే కృష్ణ.
ఎస్ ప్రభు, హరే కృష్ణ. విల్ స్టార్ట్. యాక్చువల్లీ నేను మెసేజ్ పెట్టాను, ఎవరైతే జాయిన్ అవుతారో వాళ్ళు జాయిన్ అవుతారు మధ్యలో. సో లెట్ మీ స్టార్ట్. యా, హరే కృష్ణ ప్రభుజీ. హరే కృష్ణ సపన్ ప్రభు, దండాత్ ప్రణామ్. Let us begin. Actually, Venera Mata messaged me in the morning only. She went for some marriage. So let us start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksharanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्. ओम अपवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थं गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं साभ्याभ्यन्तरं शुचिः. श्री विष्णु. Yeah, so let me share this. Yeah, we are reading from Srila Prabhupada's small book entitled On the Way to Krishna. Okay, this On the Way to Krishna, the second chapter talks about the way of chanting and knowing Krishna. Previously, we have done the first chapter, through way to happiness, and the second one, the way of chanting and knowing Krishna. We are in between at this verse. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full conscious of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Hare Krishna. So we'll start again this. Yeah. Samyukta Mata, please read.
Yes, Prabhuji. Here again, the word Tatvataha in truth is used. One can understand the science of Krishna in truth by becoming a devotee. He who is not a devotee, who does not strive for Krishna consciousness, cannot understand. At the beginning of the 4th chapter also, Krishna tells Arjuna, Gita 4.3, that he is explaining the ancient science of yoga to him, because Arjuna is my devotee and my friend. For one who simply makes an academic study of the Bhagavad Gita, the science of Krishna remains a mystery. The Bhagavad Gita is not a book that one can just purchase from the bookstore and understand by scholarship alone. Arjuna was not a great scholar nor a Vedantist, nor a philosopher, nor a Brahmana, nor a renunciant. He was a family and military man. But still, Krishna selected him to be the recipient of Bhagavad Gita and the first authority in the disciplic succession. Why? Because you are my devotee. That is the qualification to understand the Bhagavad Gita as it is and Krishna as he is. One must become Krishna conscious.
Continue, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. And what is this Krishna consciousness? That is the process of cleansing the dust from the mirror of the mind through the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting this mantra and by hearing the Bhagavad Gita, we can gradually attain to Krishna consciousness. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna is always present within our heart. The individual soul and the super soul are both sitting in the tree of the body. The individual soul, Jiva, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the super soul, Paramatma, is witnessing. As the individual soul begins the process of devotional service and gradually begins to develop his Krishna consciousness, the super soul, who is seated within, begins to help him dust all the impurities from the mirror of the mind. Krishna is a friend to all saintly persons, and the attempt to become Krishna conscious is a saintly endeavor. Shravanam Kirtanam. By chanting and hearing, one can come to understand the signs of Krishna and thereby come to understand Krishna. And upon understanding Krishna, one can, at the moment of death, go immediately to his abode in the spiritual world. This spiritual world is described thus in the Bhagavad Gita.
Read Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Na tad bhashyate suryo न शशांको न पावकः यद्गात्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम paramam mama. That supreme abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Gita 15.6.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes.
Thank you for reading. Yes. Yeah, few important things here. For one who simply makes an academic study of the Bhagavad Gita, the science of Krishna remains a mystery. So then how can we understand? So this is the mood we have to have. My devotee and my friend, Bhaktosmi Sakha Cheti. So if we want to do that way, academic study, by scholarship, or but great scholar, Vedantist, philosophical, unless you have these qualities. So even though if you are academically research like that, Vedanta way, philosophical way, but unless you have this kind of mood, you cannot understand. My devotee and my friend, Bhaktosmi Sakha Cheti Rahasyam Etaduttamam. Krishna says, you are a Bhakta and you are a friend. Sakha means friend. Then I am imparting this knowledge. It's a confidential knowledge. So in order to understand, we have to feel that Krishna is my ever well-wisher. Krishna, we have to become his devotee and in a friendly mood. That's just like a friend, what we call, there is a pep talk, right? So pep talk means, టూకీగా మాట్లాడుకోవడం, అన్ని షేర్ చేసుకోవడం అట్లా. సో ఇఫ్ యూ ఫీల్ దట్ వే, కృష్ణ ఈస్ డైరెక్ట్లీ స్పీకింగ్ టు అస్ లైక్ దట్. That is way. So, but still Krishna selected him to be the recipient of Bhagavad Gita and first authority in the disciplic succession. Why? Because you are my devotee. That is a qualification to understand. Prabhupada writes that. What is a qualification to understand Bhagavad Gita? To become a devotee. And in that way, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is, and one must become Krishna conscious. Right? What is Krishna consciousness? Chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We can gradually attain to Krishna consciousness. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna is always situated in our heart. Right? So this is, we read a few times in other books also. The individual soul and the super soul are both sitting in the tree of body. The individual soul, Jiva, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the super soul, Paramatma, is witnessing. As the individual soul begins the process of devotional service and gradually begins to develop his Krishna consciousness, the super soul who is seated within begins to help him dust all the impurities from the mirror of mind. Cheto darpanam marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. Through the chanting only. We don't need to opt for any other mantra. As Vaishnavacharyas and all the Vedic literature talks about chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. If we adopt that Hare Krishna Mahamantra so sincerely chanting, so the mirror of dust, that means materialistic way of life, material desires, materialistic way of life. So that's where the impurities will go. These are also impurities, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. So that also go away with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So when we turn towards him, actually, right now, most of the, why we frequently quote this example, because in the material world, in this material world, most of the times, most of the people, they cannot turn to God and understand and conduct their life according to scriptures, what they say. So always, eating fruits in the materialistic way of life, eating fruits means the individual soul. But the super soul is witnessing all these things. And super soul is waiting. And when this soul turns to me, super soul is nothing but Krishna himself, Krishna expanded form. In all bodies, Krishna is there. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. Prabhupada writes this. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrudyeshu Arjuna Tishtati. He is situated in the heart as a super soul. So when a sincere follower, when a sincere devotee tries to understand the purpose of life and put themselves into the path, slowly the impurities will go away with the process of chanting. Krishna is friend to all saintly person, and the attempt to become Krishna consciousness is a saintly endeavor. We are all working on why we are becoming devotees, why we are devotees. We are associating with devotees. We are associating with Machitta Mad Bhavad Gadita says 10th dot 11th verse, 10th dot 9th verse. Machitta Mad Gata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Katayantas Mam Nitya Dushyanticha Ramanticha. When we are associating with the devotees, what happens? The impurities slowly go away, slowly, gradually, right? Because we are discussing about Krishna, his pastimes, his teachings, Kirtan, ultimately, Bhagavad Prasadam. So these are all the devotional activities which helps us to purify the mirror of the mind. That mirror is now completely accumulated with the dust in the form of material desires and materialistic way of life, right? So that's the thing. Shravanam Kirtanam, by chanting and hearing, one can come to understand the science of Krishna. How can we come to the understanding Krishna? By Shravanam Kirtanam. First process is Shravanam, hearing, and then Kirtanam, chanting. And thereby come to understand Krishna. And upon understanding Krishna, one can, at the moment of death, immediately to his abode in the spiritual world. And the spiritual world described like this. Tatad bhashayatu suryo nasishanko na pavaka yadgatvana nivartante tadhama paramamam. The supreme abode of mind is not illuminated by the sun or moon. Whereas all these material planets requires the sun and moon. All these material planets. Not only this material unit, right now we are in the situated Sargaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, all the material worlds require sun and moon, and nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return the material, never return to this material world. That means our bodies are self-illuminated body. We don't require sun, moon, self-effulgent bodies that we get when we go back home, back to Godhead. So that's why Prabhupada talks about here in this chapter. So that where we have to understand, we have to take up the process nicely. Ramreddy Prabhu, మీరు ఉన్నారా? చదువుతారా?
లేరు ప్రభుజీ.
Okay. Sapan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. The material world is always dark, therefore we require the sun, moon and electricity. The Vedas enjoin us not to remain in darkness, but to transfer ourselves to the world of illumination, the spiritual world. The word darkness has a twofold meaning. It not only means without light, but it means ignorance. The Supreme Lord has manifold energies. It is not that he has come to this material world to perform activities. It is stated in the Vedas that Supreme Lord has nothing to do. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Name pratishtati kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nana vaptam avyaptam avaptayam avaptavyam varta evacha karmani. O son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the 3 planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I need to obtain anything, yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. We should therefore not think that Krishna is required to descend upon this material world and engage in so many activities. No one is equal to or greater than Krishna, and he has all knowledge naturally. It is not that he has to undergo penances to acquire knowledge, or that he at any time has to receive knowledge or attain knowledge. At all times and in all conditions, he is full of knowledge. He may be speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, but at no time he ever taught the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot understand that this is Krishna's position, does not have to return. Being under influence of illusion, we spend our lifetimes trying to make adjustment to this material atmosphere. But this is not the purpose of human life. Human life is meant for understanding the science of Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, Supreme Lord. Okay, so here, these material worlds are dark. All the material worlds. That's where we require sun, moon, electricity. So Vedas enjoin us not to remain in the darkness. That means not to be situated in the material world, right? So we have to transfer ourselves to the world of illumination, the spiritual world, right? The word darkness has twofold meaning. It not only means without light, but it means ignorance. The Supreme Lord has manifold energies. It is not that he comes to this material world to perform activities. Stated in the Vedas, Supreme Lord has nothing to do with this material world. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna also says, Name partha si kartavyam trishu lokesu kinchana nana vaptam vaptavyam varta evacha karmani. There is no work prescribed for me within this all the 3 planetary systems. Lower planetary systems, middle planetary systems, and upper planetary systems. Nor am I in want of anything, nor I have need to obtain anything. Yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. So we should therefore not think that Krishna is required to descend upon this material world and engage in so many activities. No. So Krishna, this is one of the important word. No one is equal or greater than Krishna. There is a Sanskrit word, asama urdhva. Asama means equal and urdhva means greater. So nobody in this material world, in this creation, equals to him or greater than him. That's why he is called Adi Purusha. That's why he is called Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has all knowledge naturally because everything comes from him. He only creator. No? That's why he completely aware of this complete material world and spiritual worlds. It is not that he has to undergo penances, austerities, etc. All times and in conditions is full knowledge. He may be speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, but at no time was he ever taught to the Bhagavad Gita. One who can understand that this is Krishna's position does not have to return to the cycle of birth and death in the material world. Being under the influence of illusion, we spend, that is the problem. Being illusion, being in the illusion, darkness, we spend our lifetimes in this, going through different cycle of birth and death, and trying to make adjustment to this material atmosphere. But this is not the purpose of human life. What is the purpose of human life? Human life is meant for understanding the science of Krishna. Vedanta Sutra supports Atato Brahma Jigyasa. That's what it is. So now let us read some paragraphs. Likita Mataji, can you please read?
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Our material needs are these: the problem of eating, of mating, of sleeping, of defending ourselves, and of acquiring sense gratification. These are common both to human beings and to animals. The animals are busily engaged trying to solve these problems, and if we are also only engaged in solving them, how are we any different from the animals? The human being, however, has a special qualification whereby he can develop transcendental Krishna consciousness. But if he does not avail himself of this, he is in the animal category. The defect of modern civilization is that it puts too much stress on solving these survival problems. As spiritual living beings, it is incumbent upon us to extricate ourselves from this entanglement of birth and death. We should therefore be careful not to miss the special opportunity of human life. Sri Krishna himself comes to deliver the Bhagavad Gita and to help us to become God conscious. Indeed, this very material creation is given to us to utilize for this cultivation. But if after receiving this chance and this gift of human life, we do not utilize them to develop Krishna consciousness, we shall be missing this rare opportunity. The process for cultivation is very simple. Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. We have nothing to do other than listening, and by listening carefully, enlightenment is sure to come. Krishna will surely help, for he is seated within. We only have to make the effort and spare a little time. We will not need anyone to ask us whether we are making progress. We will know it automatically, just as a hungry man knows that he has been satisfied by a full meal. Shall I continue?
Yeah, completely.
Actually, this process of Krishna consciousness or self-realization is not very difficult. Krishna taught it to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, and if we understand the Bhagavad Gita just as Arjuna did, we will have no problem in coming to the perfectional state. But if we try to interpret the Bhagavad Gita according to our own mundane academic mentality, we spoil it all. As stated before, this chanting of Hare Krishna is a process by which all contamination due to material association are removed from the mirror of the mind. There is no need for external help in reviving our Krishna consciousness. For Krishna consciousness is dormant within the self. In fact, it is very quality of the self. We have only to invoke it by this process. Krishna consciousness is an eternal fact. It is not a doctrine or set of beliefs imposed by some organization. It is within all living entities, whether they are human being or animal. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has passing through the jungles of South India some 500 years ago, he chanted Hare Krishna, and all the animals, the tigers, the elephants, and the deer joined him in dancing to the holy names. Of course, this depends on the purity of chanting. As we progress in chanting, purification is sure to come.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes. Thank you, Mataji. So Prabhupada explained about what is the material life again here. Material needs: eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and acquiring some sense of gratification. These are common to humans and animals. So animals are busily engaged in this, and we are also only engaged in solving them. How are we any different from the animals? If we solving problems within the eating, sleeping, mating, defending, then what is the difference between human and animal? That is the question Prabhupada putting you for here. The human being, however, has a special qualification. They have developed transcendental Krishna. They can develop transcendental Krishna consciousness because the mind is matured compared to other living entities' mind. Other living entities also having mind, right? See, 5 gross elements, 3 subtle elements. Anybody can say what are the 5 gross elements, 3 subtle elements? Many times we were discussing.
Nose, ears, eyes, Prabhuji, and skin. These are 5.
That is the senses, Mataji. Those are the senses, but of course the body is made up of Panchabhutas, right? Bhumi, Rapo, Nalu, Vayu.
Yeah.
And then 3 subtle elements.
Ahankara, Medassu, Manasu.
Yes, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So that is there for all other living entities also. So human beings having developed this mind, because the mind, the discrimination power is there. What is good, what is there. I mean, because of this, after all the transmigration of the soul from one body to another body, finally we got this human form of birth. So then this form is a difference. We can differentiate what is good, what is bad, because of the discrimination power we have got it. So if we put ourselves these again 4 activities, is just like animal only. The defect of Prabhupada writes, the defect of modern civilization is that it puts too much stress on solving these survival problems. right? As spiritual beings, it is incumbent upon to extricate ourselves from the entanglement of birth and death. So we should therefore be careful not to miss this special opportunity of human life, Prabhupada, gift of this human life, by cultivating the God consciousness, understanding the spiritual knowledge, what is soul, what is material body. How can we develop? By hearing and chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam. That's it. And Krishna will surely help because he is seated within. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto. Many verses. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto. Ishvara sarva bhutana hridyesha arjuna tishtati. He is there within us. When we try to do these activities, Shravanam Kirtanam, slowly he will reveal to us. Slowly and gradually he reveals to us. Right? We only have to make effort. This is a beautiful statement, no? See, we only have to make the effort and spare a little time. We will not need anyone to ask us whether we are making progress. Automatically, we get to know when we put ourselves in the Sravanam, Kirtanam and devotional practices and spare little time every day. Slowly, we'll get to know. Just like he is in an example given. Prabhupada is giving this example. We will know it automatically, just as a hungry man knows that he has been satisfied by a full meal. So actually, this process of Krishna consciousness or self-realization is not very difficult. Krishna is given this knowledge to Arjuna. And if you understand Bhagavad Gita just as Arjuna did, you will have no problem in coming to the perfectional state. But if we try to interpret, so again, we have to hear this Bhagavad Gita in proper source. That's where Prabhupada is trying to say. We have to hear this knowledge in a disciplic succession. Bhagavad Gita. There are number of verses, there are number of versions of Bhagavad Gita, some hundreds and thousands of versions. But unless it is not situated in the disciplic succession, the knowledge as it is, then if this is the problem. According to our own mundane academic mentality, we spoil it all. That's the thing. We have to understand Bhagavad Gita in a disciplic succession. Our disciplic succession. Can anybody tell what is what is our disciplic succession? Hare Krishna.
Chanting, Prabhuji?
Disciplic succession, Madai, parampara. Wow. See, our Krishna consciousness is gone, and what is our parampara? Disciplic succession. Who is our prominent guru, first guru, after Brahma, Narada?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Madhvacharya, yes. Madhvacharya. Our disciplic succession as we situated in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So our knowledge is perfect. Our understanding is perfect. Because we are not going different versions of Bhagavad Gita. We are reading Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srila Prabhupada also situated in Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. He has his guru, like that. Madhvacharya, Narada Muni, and then Brahma ultimately. Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. There are 4 Sampradayas, you all know, right? Ramanuja Sampradaya, Madhvacharya Sampradaya, 4 Kumaras, Nimbarkaracharya, and Vishnu Swami. 4 Sampradayas there. All Sampradayas talks about Krishna, understanding Krishna only. Yeah, I stated before, this chanting Hare Krishna is a process by which all contamination due to material association are removed from the mirror of the mind. There is no need for external help in reviving our Krishna consciousness. For Krishna consciousness is dormant, that means hidden, invisible right now, hidden within our heart, within our self. In fact, it is a very quality of the self. We have only to invoke it by this process. What is that process? Shravanam Kirtanam, chanting and hearing. Krishna consciousness is an eternal fact. It is not a doctrine or set beliefs imposed by some organization. It is within all living entities, whether they be human being or animal. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so this is another thing. Animals also become Krishna consciousness when Lord chanted holy name. So that is the purity of chanting. So how powerful, think about it, just 10 seconds, how beautiful. That is so much purity is there. In the jungle, while passing through the jungle, Jharkhand, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The all animals also chanted. The tiger, lion, deer, elephants, all the jungle, all other living entities. That means it is dormant. Why Prabhupada writes this example? Because the Krishna consciousness is dormant in all other living entities also. That means the purity of chanting can change anything. Actually, in fact, he delivered the other living entities, while chanting, pure chanting. That's why the loud chanting. When we take up the beads and chant, we have to loud enough to hear nicely each syllable. We have to say loudly. Loud means that we can able to hear and chant. And when we do loud chanting, the other living entities also benefited. The environment surroundings also benefited. Purified in other way we can understand, it's purified. That's why all the devotees, the beads, whoever chanting, we have to chant loudly. Of course, first 16 rounds we have to do this way, loud chanting, loud enough that we can able to hear within ourselves, right? So that's the thing. So here what Prabhupada trying to say is the purity of chanting can change anything. The other living entities also get benefited. That's why we have to adopt the chanting of loud chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. We have to say out. That's how can we remember? How can we hear unless we say out loud? Unless it's not coming out from our mouth. How can we hear? Manana is there. Manana also is good. But first recommendation is to chant first 16 rounds. We have to chant loudly. So that way, the environment, everything will be purified. The other living entities also. Prabhupada writes in other small books. We can chant how to chant loud enough to hear the holy name. Let us go to the third section. This one, right? So, yeah. So the seeing Krishna everywhere and always. Seeing Krishna everywhere and always. Okay. So I think some new devotees join here. Sirisha Mata is there, Pallai Mata is there, Lakshmi Mata is there. Okay. Sirisha Mataji, are you there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. Please read some of the paragraphs.
Seeing Krishna everywhere and always. In our practical life, Krishna instructs us how to invoke Krishna consciousness. It is not that we are to stop executing our duty or to cease from activity. Rather, activities have to be conducted in Krishna consciousness. Everyone has a vocation in life, but with that Krishna consciousness, does he enter upon it? Everyone is thinking, oh, I must have a vocation in order to maintain my family. Society, the government, or the family have to be satisfied, and no one is free from such consciousness. One has to be in proper consciousness to execute any activity nicely. He whose consciousness is agitated, who is like a madman, cannot execute any duty. We should execute our duty properly, but we should not do it thinking to satisfy Krishna. It is not that we have to change our process of work, but we do have to understand for whom we are working. Whatever activity we have to do, we must execute, but we should not be carried away by kama, desire. The Sanskrit word kama is used to indicate lust, desire, or sense satisfaction. Sri Krishna instructs that we should not work for the satisfaction of kama or our own lust. The old teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is based in this principle. Arjuna wanted to satisfy his senses by refraining from fighting with his relatives, but Krishna spoke to him to convince him to execute his duty for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Materially, it may seem very pious that he is giving up his claim for a kingdom and refusing to kill his relatives. But Krishna did not approve of this because the principle for Arjuna's decision was to satisfy his own senses. One's business or occupation need not to be changed, as Arjuna's was not changed, but one does have to change his consciousness. In order to change this consciousness, however, knowledge is required. That knowledge is knowing I am part and parcel of Krishna, the superior energy of Krishna. That is real knowledge. Relative knowledge may teach us how to repair a machine, but real knowledge is knowing our position as being integral with Krishna, being part of Him. Our pleasure, which is partial, is dependent on the whole. For instance, my hand can take pleasure when it is attached to my body and serves it. It does not take pleasure in serving another's body because we are part of Krishna. Our pleasure is in serving Him. I cannot be happy serving you. Everyone is thinking, I can only be happy serving myself. But no one knows who the self is. That self is Krishna. Mamai Vamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manasashtanindriyani Prakriti-stani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind. Bhagavad Gita 15.7.
Yes.
Okay, bro.
You want to read? Read. You can read. If you want to read, you can read.
Yeah, the jivas are living entities are now detached from the old due to material contact. It is therefore necessary for us to strive to attach ourselves again through the latent Krishna consciousness that is within us. Artificially, we are trying to forget Krishna and live independently, but this is not possible. When we strive to live independent of Krishna, we came under the influence of the laws of material nature. If one thinks he is independent of Krishna, he becomes independent on the illusory energy of Krishna. Just as if one thinks that he is independent of the government and its regulations, he becomes dependent on the police force. Everyone is trying to become independent, and this is called Maya, illusion. Individually, commonly, communally, socially, nationally, or universally. It is not possible to become independent. When we come to realize that we are dependent, we will have attained knowledge. Today, so many people are striving for peace in the world, but they do not know how to implement that peace formula. The United Nations has been striving for peace for many years, but still war is going on.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Yes, Mother. Thank you for reading. So, seeing Krishna everywhere. This chapter talks about seeing Krishna everywhere and always. So, Prabhupada writes, touch different points here. Let me share a few things. So, what Krishna consciousness does he enter upon it? Everyone is thinking, oh, I must have a vocation in order to maintain my family, society, the government, etc. So no one is free from such consciousness. One has to be in proper consciousness to execute any activity nicely. He whose consciousness is agitated like a madman cannot execute any duty. We should execute our duty properly. But we should do it thinking to satisfy Krishna. It is not that we have to change our process of work, but we have to understand for whom we are working. Whatever activity we have to do whatever activity we have to do, we must execute, but we should not be carried away by kama, desire. The Sanskrit word kama is used to indicate lust, desire, or sense satisfaction. Sri Krishna instructs that we should not work for satisfaction of kama or our own lust. And material desires, not for our self-satisfying desires, materialistic desires. The whole teaching of Bhagavad Gita is based on this principle. Okay, so you see in this title of this book, On the Way to Krishna, in this particular chapter, is pointing out in this verse about the kama. We have to work for Krishna. That in other way, Of course, we have social responsibilities, family responsibilities, professional responsibilities. Along with we have spiritual responsibilities also, spiritual life also. Yeah. Actually, this is the topmost priority. Spiritual life is the prioritized life, number one priority in the category of, spiritual life, then professional life, family life, professional life, social life. Yeah. Arjuna wanted to satisfy his senses by refraining from fighting with his relatives because bodily concept of life, bodily concept, if I kill my grandfather, my brothers, I may incur sin. But Krishna spoke to him, convinced him to execute his duty, Kshatriya duty. He forgot the Kshatriya to protect his people and to fight in the war. So materially, it may seem very pious that he is giving up his claim for a kingdom and refusing all his relatives, but Krishna did not approve. That means what he's saying with the Arjuna's example, we have to do occupational duties along with spiritual duties, thinking Krishna and doing all these activities. Arjuna's decision was to satisfy his own senses. That is, bodily concept of life means satisfying his own senses, satisfaction through those four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Bodily senses only. One's business or occupation need not be changed, as Arjuna was not changed. But one does not have to change his consciousness. One does have to change his consciousness. So what is that consciousness? We have to know that knowledge, I am part and parcel of Krishna, the superior energy of Krishna. Prabhupada writes this was Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. That is real knowledge. I am part and parcel of Krishna and I have to work for Krishna. That's it. How can we say this? Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So Prabhupada is given an example of machine. Relative knowledge may teach us how to repair a machine, but real knowledge is knowing our position as being integral with Krishna. For example, finger is there. When it attached to hand, it is valuable. The finger is valuable. If it's, for example, if cut the finger and separates it, what is the value of that cutting finger? Our position isn't like that. That cutting finger. We're not connected to the Supreme Personality of God. That's why we are separated beings. But this Shravanam, Kirtanam, again, attaching the finger to the hand, attaching ourselves to Krishna. That's why when there is no separate. See, for example, if separated, take an example of separating the finger, it won't be function. No value also. Similarly, our position also no value unless we connect to Krishna consciousness, unless we understand Krishna. No value in our life. That's why Durlabha Manusha Janma came in that word. Durlabha Manusha Janma. We got the human form of life. We have to use it for Krishna's service. That's it. Simple. No other way. Using what is the use? Serving. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. For instance, my hand can take pleasure when it is attached to my body. I just took an example of finger, that hand, but here Prabhupada says hand attached to the body, it has value and it is nicely serving. It does not take pleasure in serving another's body because we are part of Krishna, our pleasure is in serving him. So that's where we get the spiritual happiness. That's where that happiness is everlasting happiness. The bodily happiness is limited, temporary. I cannot be happy serving you. Everyone is thinking, I can only be happy serving myself, but no one knows who the self is. The self is Krishna. That verse quoted, Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashashtanindriyani Prakrutistani Karshati. The living entities in this condition are my eternal fragmental parts because everything is created by him. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. That's the six senses. The jivas, jivas, living entities, are now detached from the whole due to material contact. That's where we are detached. We are forgetfulness. That's where we are experiencing all these problems. Again, Prabhupada writes this: attached to Krishna, detached to Maya. Maya means that thing. Detached to Maya means what is there are broader meanings there, different meanings there. Not to become independent. Prabhupada writes here, many times, independent in this. What is that independent? We acting independently in this material world. We never ever become independent. We are always dependent. Either is energy, either is material resources we are using. Think about it, right? So everything we are tenants. We are temporarily using. We are using these resources. This place, the resources, material resources, water, food grains, air, right? Every day we require this. We are using, and we are acting independently. That's not good. And even social, individually, acting independently, individually, communally, socially, nationally, and universally. It is not possible to become independent. When we come to realize that we are dependent, we will have attained knowledge. We have to understand we are always dependent on others. See how we took birth, mothers, from mother's womb. We didn't come just like that. Right? So dependency is there. And we have to understand that's Prabhupada saying we will have attained knowledge. Today, so many people are striving for peace in the world, but they do not know how to implement that peace formula. The United Nations has been striving for peace for so many years, but still war is going on. Because that is independent nature. Every state, every country, they wanted to be in a top position in the business, all aspects, acting independently. No God consciousness is not there. That is the problem. Prabhupada writes, peace formula. What is a peace formula? There is one verse in Bhagavad Gita. There is the one verse actually. I forgot that. Yeah, I'll collect and let you know. So that's the thing. Why? And again here Prabhupada quoted this verse. Yachapi sarva bhutanam bijam tadaham arjuna. Natadasti vina yatsyan maya bhutam characharam. See, that's where we have to understand our dependent nature by looking at this verse. See, we are always dependent. Furthermore, Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being, moving or non-moving, that can exist without me. That means we are always dependent on him. But the tendency, to become independent nature, because we forcefully situated in the illusion, material world, so we act like independently. We forgetfulness about everything. We never ever become independent. We have to understand that. And that this is the verse Prabhupada remembered and putting in this book. We always have to be dependent on Krishna in all the times, circumstances, situations. Right? There is no being. See, there is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me. See, how can we independent in this material world? We know, we never ever. We are always dependent on him. Yes. So let us continue. Lakshmi Mataji, can you please read? Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. Then, okay. Pallavi Mataji. I think you are speaking on mute. Lakshmi Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I was on mute.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, please read, Mataji.
Krishna,
Thank you.
yeah. Krishna is thus the proprietor of everything, the ultimate beneficiary and the receiver of the results of everything. We may consider ourselves to be the proprietors of the fruits of our labor, but this is a misconception. We must come to understand that Krishna is the ultimate proprietor of the fruits of all our works. Hundreds of people may be working in an office, but they understand that whatever profit the business makes belongs to the proprietor. As soon as a teller at the bank thinks, oh, I have so much money, I am the proprietor, let me take it home with me, his trouble begins. If we think that we can use whatever wealth we have amassed for our own sense gratification, we are acting out of karma, lust. But if we come to understand that everything we have belongs to Krishna, we are liberated. We may have the same money in our hands, but as soon as we think that we are the proprietor, we are under the influence of Maya. One who is situated in the consciousness that everything belongs to Krishna is an actual learned man. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyayam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita ma gradaha kasya svit dhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. The consciousness of Ishavasya, everything belongs to Krishna. We must be revived not only individually but nationally and universally. Then there will be peace. We often tend to be philanthropic and altruistic and we strive to be friends with our countrymen, with our families, and with all the peoples of the world. But this is based on a wrong conception. The real friend is Krishna, and if we want to be benefit our family, nation, or plant, we will work for him. If we have our family's welfare in mind, we will try to make all members Krishna conscious. There are so many men trying to benefit their families, but unfortunately, they don't succeed. They don't know what the real problem is. As the Bhagavatam says, one should not attempt to become a father, mother, or teacher unless he is able to save his children from death, from the grip of material nature. The father should be in knowledge of Krishna, and he should be determined that the innocent children who are entrusted to him will not have to undergo the cycle of birth and death again. He should be resolved to train his children to in such a way that they will no longer have to be subjected to the painful cycle of birth and death. But before one can do this, he has to make himself expert. If he becomes expert in Krishna consciousness, he can help not only his children but his society and nation. But if he himself is bound by ignorance, how can he unite others who are similarly bound? But one can make others free, he must be free himself. Actually, no one is a free man, for everyone is under the spell of material nature. But one who is surrendered to Krishna cannot be touched by Maya. He of all men is free. If one places himself in sunlight, there is no question of darkness. But if one places himself in artificial light, if it may flicker and go out. Krishna is just like sunlight. Where he is present, there is no question of darkness and ignorance. The wise men, the Mahatmas, understand this. Aham sarvasya prabhava mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Gita 10.8. In this universe, the word Buddha is used, which indicates a wise man or one who is learned. What is his symptom? He knows that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, of all emanations. He knows that whatever he sees is but an emanation of Krishna. In this material world, sex life is the most prominent factor. Sexual attraction is found in all species of life, and one may ask where it comes from. The wise man understands that the tendency is in Krishna and that is revealed in his relationships with the damsels of Raja. Whatever is found in this material world can also be found in perfection in Krishna. The difference is that in material world, everything is manifest in a perverted form. In Krishna, all of these tendencies are and manifestations exist in pure consciousness in spirit. One who knows this in full knowledge becomes a pure devotee of Krishna. Mahatmanastu mam bharta daivim prakritim आश्रितः भजन्ति अनन्य मनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिम् अव्ययम् शततं कीर्तयन्तो मां यतान्तश्च दृढव्रतः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते. O son of Prutha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Gita 9.13 and 14. Who is the great soul, the Mahatma? It is who is under the influence of the superior energy. At present, we are under the influence of Krishna's inferior energy. As living entities, our position is marginal. We can transfer ourselves to either of the two energies. Krishna is fully independent. And because we are part and parcel of him, we also have this quality of independence. Therefore, we have a choice as to which energy we will function under. Because we are ignorant of the superior nature, we have no alternative but to remain in the inferior nature. Some philosophies propound that there is no nature other than the one we are presently experiencing, and that the only solution to this is to nullify it and become void. But we cannot be void because we are. It doesn't mean that we are finished just because we change our bodies. Before we can get out from the influence of material nature, we have to understand where our place actually is, where we are to go. If we don't know where to go, then we will simply say, oh, we don't know what is superior and inferior. All we know is this. So let us stay here and rot. The Bhagavad Gita, however, gives us information of this superior energy, the superior nature. What Krishna speaks, he speaks for all eternity. It doesn't change. It doesn't matter what our present occupation is or what Arjuna's occupation was. We only have to change our consciousness. At present, we are guided by the consciousness of self-interest. But we don't know what our real self-interest is. Actually, we don't have self-interest, but sense interest. Whatever we are doing to satisfy the senses. It is this consciousness that has to be changed. In its place, we must implant our real self-interest, Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you for reading. Yeah, very nice. So these are the different verses quoted in these, paragraphs by Srila Prabhupada. So from the Ishopanishad, Isavashyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyakpena bhunjita magruda kasya sviddanam. That means what he's saying, again, in order to establish, we are always have to understand this. This one is one of the important words he frequently quotes. We have to understand our quota and act accordingly. Everything animate and inanimate that is within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. In support of this, previous verse he quoted, right, from Bhagavad Gita, we never ever become dependent. We are ever independent. I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being moving or non-moving. Bhagavad Gita 10.39. In the Ishopanishad, see, everything animate or inanimate that is within this universe is controlled and owned by the Supreme Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. See, problem is when this material world is, sense gratification. That's a problem. in this material world, sense gratification, satisfying the senses, right? Whatever wealth we for our own, whatever wealth we have amassed for our own sense gratification, we are acting out of karma or lust. But if we come to understand that everything we have belongs to Krishna, we are liberated. We may have the same money in our hands, but as soon as we think we are the proprietor, we are under the influence of Maya. That's where he is quoted. Why he has written after immediately? Because Krishna is the proprietor of everything, ultimate beneficiary, receiver of the results of everything. In that way, he is quoted this verse along with Bhagavad Gita chapter 10.939, and here Ishopanishad. So here this consciousness, Isa Vashya means everything belongs to Krishna, which I have to understand, right? So this is a pretty clear paragraph he has given this here. He should be resolved to train. Again, one important point I wanted to share here. And we have a big responsibility. We have family, we have children, right? We just have to give this spiritual knowledge to our kids. The father should be in knowledge of Krishna, and he should be determined that innocent children who are entrusted to him will not have to undergo the cycle of birth and death. Again, he should be resolved to train his children in such a way that they will no longer have to be subject to the painful cycle of birth and death. Martya Loka, right? Material world means Martya Loka. చావు బతుకులు, పుట్టడం చావడం ఉన్నదే లైఫ్ ఇక్కడ. మెటీరియల్ వరల్డ్ అంటేనే ఇది ప్రాబ్లం, సైకిల్ ఆఫ్ బర్త్ అండ్ డెత్. సో we have to understand first ourselves the seriousness of human life, and then the knowledge we have to give to our children. There is a beautiful verse from Bhagavatam. Gurur Nasasya, I can quote that actually. Gurur Nasasya.
Prabhuji, it is something like Guru Nasasyat, Srijan Nasasyat.
Yeah, same. Yeah. That is what I am looking after here. Yeah. Guru Nasasyat, Svajano Nasasyat, Pita Nasasyat, Janani Nasasyat, Daivam Natasyan, Natapati cha Sasyan, Namo Chayedya Samupeta Mrityam. One who cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipper of demigod. One has to, this is the Bhagavatam says, from there, Srila Prabhupada quoted this, the father should be in knowledge. Of course, mothers. So, in the family, needs to be understand about the spiritual knowledge and impart this knowledge to our kids. Right. But before that, he has to make himself expert. If he becomes expert in Krishna consciousness, he can help not only his children, but his society and nation. But if he himself bound by ignorance, how can he unite others who are similarly bound? Before one make others free, he must be free himself, right? Just like, a person fell in a well. How can he come out? The other person outside sending the rope, and then that way the outsiding person is knowledge, the inside person in the well is ignorant. The thread is spiritual knowledge, spiritual master. Through that you can understand. So if somebody is free from this, then only they can give this knowledge. Somebody at least knowledgeable what is spiritual life, what is material life, and the seriousness, then they can give this knowledge to the children and society at large over the rights. Right. So here one more thing. When we surrender to Krishna, what happens? But when one who is surrendered to Krishna cannot be touched by Maya. He of all men is free. If one places himself in sunlight, there is no question of darkness. So that Krishna consciousness is a sunlight, whereas material consciousness is darkness actually. Krishna consciousness, just like effulgent sunshine. The soul is awakened. The consciousness is awakened, dormant consciousness. But if one places himself in artificial light, it may flicker and go out. Krishna is just like sunlight. Where he is present, there is no question of darkness and ignorance. The wise men, the Mahatmas understand this. That is what Prabhupada quoted this verse, and I frequently quote this also. Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And Prabhupada writes, who are the Mahatmas who can understand this knowledge? Mahatmas tu mampartha daivim prakriti masrita bhajante ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya dudavrata namasyantasya mam bhakti nityayukta upasate. So what is the person who is in elevated knowledge? The Sannapruta, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. So then when we adopt this Krishna consciousness process, we are under the protection of divine nature. Remember this, Prabhuji and Mataji. We are under the protection of divine nature because we are chanting the pure holy names. So even though we are not pure right now, but we are uttering the pure holy names of Krishna. That's where under the protection of divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. It's a great soul. Why the great souls? Why they become great souls? Mahatma ho gaya. Why they become Mahatma? Because this is their consciousness. This is their adopting. This is their working. They are working for Krishna. They are working for Krishna. They are pleasing for Krishna. Yeah, that the great soul. Right. So that's what it is given. Who is the great soul? Mahatma. It is he who is under the influence of the superior energy. Right now, we are under the influence of Krishna's inferior energy. As living entities, our position is marginal. There are three kinds of energies. Tatastha Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, Antaranga Shakti. We are in the Tatastha Shakti. And Bahiranga Shakti is external potency. Antaranga Shakti is an internal potency. When we act Krishna consciousness, we are in the internal potency of Krishna. Kladini potency, it's called. Antaranga Shakti. Right? The Bhakti Yoga principle, the practice of the Bhakti Yoga under the influence, under the internal energy only. Yeah. So now let us see. Inferior nature, and up to this point we read, right? Another 10 minutes we read and we'll wrap up. Okay, another 8-10 minutes. Two Matas is giant. So Swapna Mataji and Pallavi Mataji. Pallavi Mataji is still there, Hare Krishna? I don't think so. She dropped off. Okay. Anyway, Swapna Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
From here you can read actually. Let me see.
Some philosophies, right, Prabhuji?
Yeah, Chadwan Parlikran, yeah.
Some philosophies propound that there is no nature other than the one we are presently experiencing, and that the only solution to this is to nullify it and become void. But we cannot be void because we are living entities. It does not mean that we are finished just because we change our bodies. Before we can get out from the influence of material nature, we have to understand where our place actually is, where we are to go. If we do not know where to go, then we will simply say, oh, we do not know what is superior and inferior. All we know is this, so let us stay here and rot. The Bhagavad Gita, however, gives us information of the superior energy, the superior nature. What Krishna speaks, he speaks for all eternity. It does not change. It does not matter what our present occupation is or what Arjuna's occupation was. We only have to change our consciousness. At present, we are guided by the consciousness of self-interest. But we do not know what our real self-interest is. Actually, we do not have self-interest, but sense-interest. Whatever we are doing to satisfy the senses. It is this consciousness that has to be changed. In its place, we must implant our real self-interest, Krishna consciousness. How is this done? How is it possible to become Krishna conscious in every step of our life? Actually, Krishna makes it very easy for us. Rasoham apsu konteya prabhasmi sasi suryayo pranavah sarva vedesu shabda ke paurusam nrisu. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in either and ability in man.
Go ahead, Mataji.
In this verse, Sri Krishna is describing how we can become fully Krishna conscious in all stages of life. All living entities must drink water. The taste of water is so nice that when we are thirsty, nothing but water sense to do. No manufacturer can create the pure taste of water. We can thus remember Krishna or God when we drink water. No one can avoid drinking water every day of his life. So, God consciousness is there. How can we forget? Similarly, when there is some illumination, that is also Krishna, the original effulgence in the spiritual sky. The Brahmajyoti emanates from the body of Krishna. This material sky is covered. The very nature of the material universe is darkness, which we experience at night. It is being artificially illuminated by the sun, by the reflected light of moon, and by electricity. Where is this illumination coming from? The sun is being illumined by the Brahmajyoti, or the bright effulgence of the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is no need for sun, moon, or electricity because everything is illuminated by the Brahmajyoti. On this earth, however, we can remember Krishna whenever we see some illumination from the sun. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Continue. Yeah.
When we chant the Vedic mantras, which begin with Om, we can also remember Krishna. Om, like Hare Krishna, is also an address to God, and Om is also Krishna. Shabda means sound, and whenever we hear any sound, we should know that it is a vibration of the original sound, the pure spiritual sound Om or Hare Krishna. Whatever sound we hear in the material world is but a reflection of that original spiritual sound Om. In this way, when we hear sound, when we drink water, when we see some illumination, we can remember God. If we can do this, then when we will not remember God, this is the process of Krishna consciousness. In this way, we can remember Krishna 24 hours in a day. And in this way, Krishna is with us. Of course, Krishna is always with us. But as soon as we remember this, his presence is factual and is felt.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna Mata. We are at 8 o'clock. So let me add few points and then wrap up. Okay. Thank you very much for reading today, Mataji. So we have to experience, we have to see, this is what is spiritual life. Prabhupada writes in small books, some other books. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. I am the taste of the water. If you remember while drinking water, then is Krishna consciousness, is God consciousness. While drinking water, if you remember this line, Rasoham apsu kaunteya. Who said this one? Krishna says this, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water. Then what next was? Prabhasmi Sasi Suryayo, the light of the sun and the moon. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am that Om. And Shabda Ke Paurusham Rusu. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. So at least we remember Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya. When we drink water, think about Krishna, who has given this water. That's it. We are become Krishna conscious. How is it possible to become Krishna consciousness every step of our life? That's what say Acharya is given. How is it possible to become Krishna consciousness in every step of our life? At least we can remember, right? Without water, we cannot, right? We cannot live. At least we remember. That's where we have to make. Actually, Krishna makes it very easy for us. And he put this, Prabhupada quoted this verse from Bhagavad Gita 7.8. In this verse, Krishna is describing how we can become fully Krishna conscious. In all stages of life, all living entities must drink water. The taste of water is so nice that when we are thirsty, nothing but water seems to do. బాగా దాహం వేసినప్పుడు అసలు వాటర్ దొరకనప్పుడు ఇక దొరికిన వాటర్ మంచి ఎట్లా అనిపిస్తుంది మనకి? It satisfies the pure. That means no manufacturer can create the pure taste of water. How the taste come in the water? Krishna is given that taste. We can thus remember Krishna or God when we drink water. No one can avoid drinking water every day of his life. So God consciousness is there. How can we forget? Right? And then next is, similarly, when there is some illumination, that is also Krishna. The original effulgence is in spiritual sky. Brahma Jyoti emanates from the body of Krishna only. The material sky is covered. The very nature of material universe is in darkness. That's why it's called Martya Loka. That's why it's called Andha Lokas, which is experienced at night, which we experience it. It is being artificially illuminated by the sun. Think about it. The sun is not there. Assume we are in this material world. Sun won't come in the morning. Then what happens? And everything becomes dark. So that's where we are artificially dependent. But that is what he's saying. We are Prabhupada saying artificially dependent on the sunlight. That this material world is required sunlight. Otherwise, is everything dark. It is being artificially illuminated by the sun, but by the reflected light of the moon and by electricity. Where is this illumination coming from? The sun is being, actually the sun is illuminated by the Brahma Jyoti only. The bright effulgence of the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is no need for sun, moon. That is given in previously. Natad bhashayatu surya na sishanko na pavaka yadgatva na nivartante tadhama paramama. That is given. Right? So that's the thing. When we chant the Vedic mantras, Om, that is Krishna only. Om, like Hare Krishna, is also an address to God. And Om is also Krishna. Shabda means sound. Right? Let's talk about Om. There, yes. And here, if we can, what we can do? If we can do this, what we can do? Like in this way, when we hear sound, the sound vibration, the pure spiritual sound vibration, any mantra, right? It starts with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Madhavaya Namaha, Om Govindaya Namaha, Om Vishnave Namaha, Om Madhusudan. Om, it starts with that. Om is Krishna. So that's the thing. If we remember, in this way, when we hear sound vibration of Krishna, when we drink water, when we see some illumination, that illumination, actually the sunlight is actually come from Krishna only. How? From the Brahma Jyoti platform. Brahma Jyoti is a self-effulgent. Brahma Jyoti is a light. That light gives to the material nature through the sun, moon, etc. That is come from spiritual body of Krishna only. Brahma Jyoti. So whatever we see, that illumination, we have to understand it's from Krishna only, through his body, through his Brahma Jyoti. We have to remember that way. Okay. And while we drink water also, when we hear spiritual sound vibration, we can remember God. If we can do this, Prabhupada writes, if we can do this, then we will not remember God. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. In this way, we can remember Krishna 24 hours a day. And in this way, Krishna is with us. Of course, Krishna is always with us. But as soon as we remember this, his presence is factual and is felt. That means we experience Krishna is there with us. But for now, Prabhupada writes, self-interest and sense interest. So far, sense interest means that is again, sense interest equals to eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Self-interest means, this is what it is, experience. While drinking water, while hear some sound vibration of Krishna's holy names, when we see some illumination, the light, every day we see, every day we hear some sounds, every day we need this. While doing this, if you remember Krishna, slowly, gradually, Prabhupada writes, in this way, we can remember Krishna 24 hours a day. Actually, a Krishna conscious person utilizes time so nicely, actually. We have wonderful process put in place from the morning after waking up from the bed until we go to bed. So many Krishna conscious activities we can do. First, chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and then preparing for worshipping items, deity worship, and then Mata is cooking, right? Reading, hearing some lectures. Of course, we have prescribed duty, and we have to go for work. And after coming back from work, and we have to do some, whatever remaining rounds we have to chant. And then again, some reading activity, some sloka recitation, some cleaning in the kitchen, cleaning at home, cleaning in the temple, in our home temple altar. So everything, keeping Krishna in the center and work it. That's it. Become Krishna conscious. Centralized karna padega. We have to have Krishna in the center and work according to his expectation, Krishna's expectations. Okay, so we are all wonderful devotees. Let us continue reading. We are reading means we are understanding about Krishna. We are with Krishna. Remember that we are understanding about him. We are with Krishna, and this knowledge is eternal. This knowledge helps us for progressing nicely in the path of Krishna Bhakti. Okay, with this, I am concluding here. Thank you so much for joining today, Matajis and Prabhujis. Okay, anybody have any questions? Otherwise, we can wrap up and let us connect on Monday. Okay, next week, this book will be done. It's a small book only. Another 2 chapters there. Yeah, by end of next week, it will be done, this book. Yeah. Anybody have any questions, Matajis, Prabhus? Thank you so much for joining. Samyukta Mataji, Sapan Prabhu, Swapna Mataji.
Tomorrow, as you said yesterday, day before yesterday.
Lakshmi Mataji. Mataji?
As you said day before yesterday about reading Gita tomorrow, do we have that Saturday?
I'm planning, Mataji. I'm sending that message. 108 verses. Saturday night.
Yeah.
Saturday evening. Let us do actually.
Okay,
message.
Yeah.
Please join.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, Prabhuji.
108 verses. 3 hours. Actually, Sunday roju Gita Jayanti festival undi.
Okay.
So, as a bigger group, Leela and Prabhu is planning to do Telugu and English recitation of the translations. So, yeah, you can all go there also. So this is prelude. It enhancer. I'll write that 108 sloka recitation with translation and sloka recitation and translation. Let us do in 2 hours time. It will take, not more than that, it seems. Okay. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for joining today. Lakshmi Mataji, Sirisha Mataji, Swapna Mataji, all are Swapna SS. Sirisha Mataji, Swapna Mataji, Sapan Kumar Prabhu, Samyukta Mataji, 4S, 1, 2, 3, 4S. Regular. Lakshmi Mataji, Likita Mataji, Pallavi Mataji, you all joined. Thank you very much. Since though they are not here right now, but they heard, they read. That's good. That's a good thing. They hear something about Krishna. Okay. So let us connect on Monday for regular reading. Tomorrow, let us do 108 sloka recitation and understanding those verses. Okay. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitai Gaura Hari Premanande. Hari Hari. Thank you.